Started here in just a second. We're going to go live on Facebook. Hello, everyone joining us on Facebook. There we are. And we're going to go live on LinkedIn. Hello, everyone joining us on LinkedIn. We've got a few more people coming in through there. Excellent. I think we are, oops, let me go back a screen because there we go. All right. Hello, everyone. I guess I could show up in the big size here.
Whoa.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to WaveTalkers Live. I'm Chris Mattia, W6AH. I'm joined again by my esteemed colleagues, David, KK6DA, Dave, W0DHG, and Dan, NR6V. And today we are here at the virtual coffee bar, as we have it. Everybody's got our beverage. It's your beverage of choice, whatever that happens to be. And we're going to try and take your Winlink questions today. We have a few folks from the Winlink developer team who are in the session with us, and hopefully we will do our best. Well, I know we will do our best to answer your questions. Now, we had a lot of different thoughts as to what to call today's episode. And we started off with something about a genius bar, but we figured that wouldn't go so well. So we're not going to, we couldn't find any geniuses. Then we thought about asking experts, but we couldn't find any experts. I mean, we're only amateurs after all. We went through a whole bunch of different ideas. So we came up with the virtual coffee bar to be able to have as a theme. So for today's episode, let me switch back over to my slides and I'll move myself out of the way. If you can send in a Winlink check-in, go ahead and use the regular standard Winlink check-in form. Send it to all four of us, KK6DA, W0DHG, NR6V, and myself, W6AH. And in the comments section of that, if you have a question about Winlink, go ahead and plug that in. We have gotten several questions in already that have come in to us, and we're going to do our best to answer as many of these as we can today. So that's kind of the initial spiel of what we have. And let's get this kicked off. I'm going to go ahead and unpin folks a little bit because I'm going to need to share my screen to do the quick demo of, let's see, remove spotlight. Just spent all this time.
Good questions coming in.
Oh, those are great
Excellent questions.
I'm super excited about some of the questions I'm excited about all the questions. Let's see, and remove this spotlight.
There we go.
All right. So I'm going to jump over to the PC real quick, and I will do a quick demonstration. So if you're not familiar with sending in your Winlink Winlink check-in, it's pretty simple. If you've got Winlink up and running, go ahead and just click on the new document button up here, go up to select template, come down here to the standard templates, go into there, and down here in the general forms, you can click on that. If you come down a little bit further, there you are, Winlink check-in. Just go ahead and double click that, and there's the form. Put all four of our call signs in here, separate them with a colon space. And then here's a place to enter in your question. If you're live in the Zoom session, you can go ahead and enter your question into the Zoom chat. We'll do our best to get to those. And
sorry, could you say that again? My apologies.
Thanks, Siri. We'll catch up later. Right now, we're gonna.
She's so rude.
She really is. So I actually want to jump in and start our first question today. Came in via Winlink, and it came in from Austria, and it is Oscar Echo 3 Foxtrot Quebec uniform, and they asked, what does item 11 POC on the spot rep mean? So I'm going to come over here on the spot rep form, and here's the spot rep form as it gets filled out. And if you come down here to the bottom, Item number 11 is POC. And correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but I believe POC stands for point of contact.
You are correct. It's a military FEMA generated form.
Thank you.
Hey, so I have a question for you, Mike. When that got entered in the form, was the intention to use it as the operator that sent the form or the point of contact at the location you're at that provided the information?
Person that sent the form. This
Okay.
form originally was designed by Dan Minette of Shares.
Got it. And so at the top, we replicate. So if you scroll up, Chris, at the top, if you scroll up.
Sorry.
That's okay. At the top, there is a from. So the from and the POC would ultimately be the same.
Not necessarily. From is who's sending the message, who's actually the operator. Point of contact may be a person that's responsible for that, gathering that information.
Gathering the
Maybe
data.
John Doe,
Got it.
following phone number, blah, 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 blah.
Got it.
And we should say, if you're not familiar with this form, this is one of the most valuable forms in emergency communications. As you can see, if you're not familiar with it, what it's asking you is, do you have telephones? Do you have cell phones? Are the commercial broadcast stations operating? Do you have water? Do you have power? And what is uniquely so valuable about this is that at the network control level, you can aggregate all this information. So let's say you have 40 people over 4 counties doing this. You can look at all of their reports on one map with all of that data. It really is a powerful thing.
And we've been told by folks at the LA City EOC that for the first 24 hours in a major disaster, they're going to be mostly intaking information. They need that information in order to deploy their limited resources. And so they've told us as amateur radio groups that the most important thing we can do is to give them, boots on the ground information. And the spot rep form is one that could be used very quickly, since we have members scattered throughout the city. In a very short order, we could provide them with good basic information and ongoing information about whatever the disaster is.
Right. If you look at what happened during the Northridge earthquake, I know in my community, we evacuated our apartment because it wasn't livable at the time. And what we saw happen over the first hour and a half of the morning was police and fire just kind of driving up and down the streets with a clipboard, writing down, okay, this needs to be dealt with and that needs to be dealt with. And if it wasn't burning or there wasn't water pouring out of it, they just kind of kept driving through looking for the hot spots, doing that they call the windshield survey.
And one of the things they refer to is the donut hole. And what the donut hole is the fact that in the worst hit areas, traditional communications are likely going to be unavailable. So they're not getting any information from those areas. So it's particularly important to them to hear from that area. And as we all know, amateur radio is probably the best way when traditional comms are out.
Cool. I see Mike has his hand raised. What's up, Mike?
Real quick, a bit of history on the sheriff spot rep. That form was designed for the hurricane hit Puerto Rico, the Maria hurricane. It was specifically a form that sheriffs wanted to use to gather quick first blush intelligence of an area, and that's where it came from. And as to Dave, I was a communications coordinator during the Northridge earthquake. I responded to 2 of the apartment complex buildings with the FEMA Urban Search and Rescue Task Force 7, I believe it was. Remember that well.
Nice. Steve, are you able to unmute now?
Hello, test.
Hello, we can hear you.
Hi, Steve.
I wanted to,
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I wanted to comment that I've taken that report and I have provided it to 8 county EMAs that, state EMAs that where communications is an annual experience and not a concept. And I have asked them to further hone that down to a point where it would be useful is with respect to initial input, ground truth input. And I have not gotten them all back yet, but so I haven't given them to anybody to review to see whether we can do it or not, whether we want to do it or whatever, but that is in the works.
Cool. Thanks.
Very cool. Let's go to the next question that we have. The next thing, we got a question in also via Winlink from Kilo Delta 6 Lima Lima Bravo. And they asked, what mobile transceivers do you recommend for MCOMs? With a follow-up of what characteristics should we consider when selecting a mobile transceiver? Dave, you want to jump in on this one?
I kind of do and I kind of don't. So this is one of those like loaded questions. You know, you're a Ford or a Chevy or a Dodge guy, right?
What kind of car should I buy?
Yeah, exactly. And so what I wouldn't say is you have to get a brand X.
Right.
What I would say is what you're looking for is a data jack, a data port, a way that you can plug the digital connector, the signal link in, or the built-in TNC in some of the radios, and some of them that will let you only do packet, and some will let you do VAR as well. The thing that you don't want to do is start with just a handheld, in my humble opinion, unless you're in a large city like we're in Los Angeles, where there's a lot of coverage. You want to start with a mobile rig. You want to have a good antenna on your roof. And you ideally, again, want to find a radio that has a data port. And there are a lot of them out there. You can get them from Kenwood. You can get them from Yaesu. I think some of the ICOM ones have those available. And, mostly my area of Winlink expertise is more FM than HF. But, just looking at that area, really where you want to go is something that either I'm going to dedicate a radio to it and I'm going to unplug the microphone and that's all it's going to do. And that's how my gateway works. Or if I'm going to use it for multifunctional things, like a deployment kit, I want to have a radio that I can either talk on the microphone or send data out of the data port without having to unplug something and plug it back in. And it's also the radio that you can afford. There are a number of different interfaces that you can use, the Signal Link and the Rig Blasters and the DigiKeys and a whole bunch of other. I'm really kind of convinced that the Signal Link USB model is the simplest and easiest and fastest to get up to speed on. I'm not saying any of the other ones don't work. They do, and they absolutely will. There are the DRA boards and other items as well. But Signal Link is it's quick, it's easy, it works. It's not too hard to troubleshoot. And I think, that would kind of be my recommendation.
Ultimately,
I don't know any of the other guys.
Yeah, ultimately, it's something that you can trust and use easily. You don't want to be looking at the manual in the middle of an emergency exercise. Oh, you might look at it for something you've forgotten, but you really want something that is going to be reliable for you and that you understand. I think one good best practice is use the radio in your home, in your office, in your shack that you're going to be using in the field. So you're using the same radio all the time. That's one really good practice. There was a time that I had an ICOM, a Yaesu, and a Kenwood, and they're all fine brands, really good. But of course, you have to have different RT cables. You have to have different manuals. There are different systems. So I decided some time ago that I'm just going to be a Yaesu guy, and I'm very happy with them. The FTM 400 is an excellent radio at home, in the field, in your car. However, plug here, the IC 705 is just a superior device. Chris and I both have one, and I continue to learn on this device all the time. Touch screen, just like my iPhone. You can do everything you need to do. The drawback is it's 10 watts max. So I'm thinking on that. Do I need more? Often not. With 10 watts from from a park in the San Gabriel Valley, I could easily hit a gateway in Tijuana, Mexico, and another gateway by HF, and another gateway near Las Vegas, and another gateway in Washington State. So I don't know. With the right kind of antenna, the right kind of system, 10 watts might be just perfect.
Well, I will add to what David said about the signal link. I've spent the last 2 weeks trying to get some radios working with both a RIM board, which is a plug-in board, and with DigiRig. And that involved me making cables, and I am having a terrible time with it. So right now, the way I look at it, a signal link that has a pre-made cable that they're a little pricier. Certainly you can build one cheaper, but to be able to buy it and plug and play and know it's going to work, particularly for your first setup, is really valuable to me. I love making cables when they work, but when you make them and spend all that time and then they don't work and you don't know why they don't work, it's very frustrating.
For me, when I was choosing the rig that I primarily use, I ended up going with the Kenwood D710G. And I did that for a very simple choice. I live in Ventura County. I operate with the Ventura ACS ARES group. And every one of our EOCs and hospital locations that we have has that specific radio in their radio room. So I figured I would buy and learn the same rig that I use that would be used if I was deployed out to one of those locations. And it's turned out to be an excellent choice. As far as the signal link goes for that, I spent about 2 years operating just with the built-in TNC that's inside of the radio. I also started with I have a Kenwood D710 or a Kenwood D74, which I connect via Bluetooth to the to my laptop, and I'm able to send Winlink traffic with. And so I use those two methods for about 2 years. And after being on many of these sessions with these three guys, I finally broke down and got a signal link and was able to do VARA at that point. And what a difference that makes. I mean, it just simplified everything. It made things so much easier to be able to use. So, yeah, same thing all of these other guys just said with that. I see, Mike, you've got your hand raised. You want to add something to that?
Go with the signal link. If you're serious about MCOM and you're just a client, go with the signal link, pre-made cable, plug and play. The best is if you are a gateway operator, such as I got 16 gateways on Hilltops, I prefer the RA board because you can't screw it up and it sits there and it's configured once and left alone.
Nice. I think one of the other things that to consider when you're choosing a rig, as was already said, certainly go with a mobile rig as opposed to an HT. You get a little more bang for your buck there. But the other thing is consider how you're going to be operating. So if you're working on setting up a gateway, you can probably just use a radio with a single VFO on it. But if you're setting up to be able to operate in the field, having a radio that either has an A side and a B side, such as the Kenwood, the Yaesu, there's several others out there that do that, the ICOM, all of those, you can switch back and forth. So you can have one side of the radio doing your data, one side of the radio doing voice. It really makes a big difference when you're set up and you're operating like that. The other way that I operate, if I'm doing HF, I'll oftentimes use my 7300 or the ICOM 705. Those are connected directly via USB. They work great. They don't need anything extra to be able to do that, HF operation. And a lot of times what I do is I set the AB of the receiver on the 705 or the 7300, and I'll set one for the voice channel and one for the data, and you can press one button and switch back and forth between the two to be able to send your traffic and communicate. So those are just a few suggestions. We also use in some of these, looking at other brands, Alinco makes some nice radios that are just single band radios to be able to use. We set up a lot of dedicated packet stations to be able to do that in Ventura County. And there's a bunch of them out there, but really look for that data port. That's really the key.
Another consideration right now too, unfortunately, is availability.
Yeah.
A lot of these single band radios just are not available. Yaesu has their single band radios don't have the data port, but when you go to their dual bands, many of them do, but most of those that did are discontinued. I think they have a new one coming out.
Yeah, the FT 6000 is out, and it does have the data port, and you have to get an adapter because now it's not a 6-pin DIN anymore; it's a 10-pin. And Tigertronics isn't providing a cable for that yet, but they are out there, and it has some nice features. It is very easy to operate, and it is a dual band, and reasonably priced. But again, this is
just so Yaesu makes it just so seamless. I mean, you don't have to switch anything. You can do data, you can do voice on the same channel. You don't have to flip a switch. ICOM makes you do one thing. You got to go from digital to FM. That's pretty quick, however.
Steve, I see you got your hand raised. What's up?
Plenty. Number one, what does your agency want? And not just LA, we're looking at a national or an international schema here. So what do they want? Let me remind you that March 3rd is the deadline for your county or any other authority having jurisdiction applying for and receiving a grant from Cal OES for type accepted, Part 90 SEC type accepted equipment that is specifically set up for these purposes. They have a drop kit format, they have a mobile format, they have an in-office format, and that's there for the taking if you can work with your county and talk them into spending enough time to apply for the grant. For people in California, go see Jim Price. He can tell you all about it. And I think the deadline's March 3rd. It's been extended to March 3rd. I think there's about 39 out of 58 counties who have applied. I don't know about universities and other government agencies in your state. That's number one. So what do they want? What do they expect? Why wouldn't they want you to use their equipment? That's number one. Number two, a lot of these agencies have moved away from simulcasting and other VHF, UHF radios to more advanced 700-800 trunking, P25, etc. Not just in California, but everywhere across the world. Having said that, that leaves a lot of commercial radios. I specifically refer to the Kenwood TK type accepted radio, which has a really good front end so that if you're in a high RF environment, you don't get blown away by somebody with a public safety radio 5 feet away from you with a handheld that's blowing your Vera, whatever it is, FM or whatever it is you're trying to do away. So look for those radios if you have an association with your county and they're getting ready to surplus or have a pile of those in a garage somewhere, which most of them do. That is a great way to get the program cable, find out how to do it, make certain that you get the proper manual and utilize that equipment. The other thing is, be sure that if you have an association with your agency that they supply you one of their public safety radios so you know what's going on. So you have that radio in addition, because you've got several levels in an incident. You've got the communication, then you've got under communication, a bunch of others, including within logistics, then you've got operation, you've got all of these various people transmitting and receiving during a real life incident And if you don't know what's going on, sometimes your agency counterpart doesn't have time to sit and explain everything to you. But if you had that communication directly, you'd have a lot better chance at making a difference. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
good advice.
Hey, Steve, can you put in the chat, if you've got a URL for that grant, Whiskey Golf Zero Charlie, put a note in the chat wondering if we had a URL for that. If you can just go ahead and put that in the chat if you've got that. Mike, you got anything else to add to this before we take the next question?
That'll be a negative, old man.
Okay.
You also, the Kenwood TKs and others are often available on eBay at pretty good prices. If you can't get, like LA County or LA City anyway, their contract with Motorola for their equipment requires them to destroy the equipment when they're done with it. So getting radios out of them has proved to be very difficult, and it hurts to see what they have to do with those things.
Let's take the next question. The next one is coming in from Whiskey Golf Zero Charlie, and he asks, can you explain the tactical call and when is the best time to use it? DA, you want to take this one on?
Good question. I am not an expert in tactical calls, but you could, for instance, set up a tactical call for an exercise. Your net control station might be, instead of KK6DA, it might be Aries LAX Northeast. And you would send your information to that tactical call. I think the thing to remember about tactical calls is you don't want to get too much in the weeds with them. You don't want to gum up the system with a bunch of tactical calls that you use once every 6 months or once every 9 months or something like that. If you're going to use it often, and that's the long and the short of it. You would use it per your exercise.
And it should be very specific, because obviously a tactical call of EOC will, every agency has an EOC. So you want to make it as specific as you can, so that because that tactical call won't be available to anybody else.
Yeah.
So I did a quick screen share and pulled up. I'll back up to it again. So again, this is my Winlink Express client here. And if I go into the settings and look at the setup for Winlink Express, you can see here's where you're adding auxiliary call signs and tactical calls. And in our area, our Aries group has a LAX Northwest, and I'm kind of the keeper of that, but there are other folks that have access to that as well. And as opposed to telling everybody to send the traffic to me, they send it to the LAX Northwest during an activation or a drill or an incident, such that if I become disabled or I can't operate, I can reach out to Chris or David or Dan or one of the other operators locally and have them spin up that tactical call and as active, and you can uncheck it so that it's not active, and it will pull the mail down. And much like when we in Los Angeles County, again, we support the hospital systems. When we call out to the local hospital, to me as West Hills Hospital, they'll want to give it a name. That's their tactical call for an incident. They don't want to have to remember, who's at West Hills Hospital? It's W0DHG. And when they want me at the hospital or somebody else, they call W0DHG. Well, I may be up getting a snack or taking a nap or going to the restroom or doing something else, and there's another operator at the radio. Well, they're not going to answer for me. But if you use that tactical call, and the same thing with Winlink, whether it's voice or over Winlink, we know somebody's responsible at that location or in that area or in that situation for answering to or receiving that kind of general message.
David, we might point out also that in Los Angeles County, one tactical call that we're all familiar with is the MAC, the Medical Alert Center. And that tactical call never changes. And with each of our exercises and, with an actual event, all of our hospital status reports, resource requests, communications from the hospitals would go to the Medical Alert Center, the MAC. And so that tactical call does not change. Am I right? Is it LAX-MAC? That's close, something like that.
LAC-MAC. So I see there's some chat from in the chat. Steve was tactical address isn't a call sign, and right, it's not a radio call sign. It's a device to identify a location. And I don't remember when you sign up. I don't think that they're permanent. As long as you're signed up and you're using them, they stay. And maybe Steve, you could, or Mike, you could jump in.
Got his hand. Go ahead, Mike.
A tactical call sign, once you assign it, remains in the Winlink database forever, as long as you keep them there.
Okay.
To remove them, you have to have one of us remove it physically for you.
So you have to send a request. Is that it?
Yeah, you can send a request, but
okay,
you turn them on and off in Winlink Express. The whole purpose of a tactical was, as you indicate, somebody opens up a Red Cross shelter. The shelter is called maybe ARC 21. A new operator comes in, he grabs that tactical. As long as he knows the password, he turns it on as Express. He now receives that traffic. When he leaves, he turns that off in his Express. So when he goes home, it's not by mistake picking up that traffic. I think you get the flavor. A full explanation of tacticals is in Winlink Express help file.
And there's a lot of great information in that help file. And as Mike pointed out, you created it. There's permanence to it unless you ask him to remove it. So it's not something to go in and play with all the time. But if you establish one as a group or as a unit, you know what it is. It will require that password, and anyone that has it can use it. So again, share it with those that are trusted and that will be able to use that.
Yeah, and the biggest part of it to me is that you don't have to remember who the operator is at a key location.
Right, that is key.
You don't have to memorize that NR6V is at the MAC. You're contacting the MAC, and whoever's assigned to that seat is going to reply.
And that can be really critical. It's one thing if you're doing a 2-hour drill, but it's another thing if you're responding to a longer term disaster, because operators are going to change. We can't all sit and work at the radio day in and day out as the disasters go on. It's not practical.
So I see another question has come in, and I actually have this listed under 2 call signs. So I don't recall which of you sent this in. So I'll just call them out, call both out. Kilo Mike 5, BOR, and KD8 VJD. And they're asking if I connect a Winlink station to check or send email and they don't have an internet connection from there for some reason, what happens? Dan, you want to take that as a gateway?
Sure. In RMS Relay, which is one of the programs that gateway operators would have, the operator can select what to do. He can select to just reject the message. He can select to, as I have done, to store the message, and either one of 2 things would happen. If the internet comes back up, then the message would be forwarded automatically to the CMS. Or if the recipient of that message is local, they can log into the gateway and retrieve the message that way. We actually did a drill where we did that on purpose, and stations would log in and get that message directly off of the gateway that had been purposely disconnected from the internet for the drill.
But let's be clear. The question that I saw was, what happens if I connect to a Winlink station to check an email? And if it's peer-to-peer, then it doesn't really matter whether you have an internet connection or not. If there's email there waiting for you, you can pick it up. But you're not going to check into another Winlink station to get email that would be stored in the CMS. It would be a gateway you'd need to connect to. And I know I'm splitting hairs, but as we grow the knowledge, it makes it better to understand what the proper terminology is.
This does make a great exercise, by the way. Pull the internet, turn the internet off on the gateway that you're communicating with, have it collect as if the internet is down, have it collect some messages, and then maybe magically it comes back up, or someone can retrieve the messages from another location.
And it does a really great job of telling you, the gateways will tell you, hey, you've connected to my gateway, but I don't have internet right now. Do you want to really send it, or do you want to try somewhere else? And you have the option. And that's a great feature, because you might say, well, maybe Dan's internet's down, but I can try going the other direction and get out. I saw Mike raise his hand, and Alan as well.
Mike, take it away.
I want to add to what Dan was saying. A lot of it depends on how the gateway is set up by the system operator. If you have just a simple, for example, packet gateway that is not running any additional software, if there's no internet, you'll just get disconnected, plain and simple. You get no pop-up, no nothing. If you connect to a gateway that's properly configured and your express you haven't mucked around with your express settings, you will then get a pop-up in your express saying, do you want to connect to this gateway? This gateway has no internet. You can go on to the next one. A lot of these things depend on how they're set up. So there's no really blind answer for it. I just wanted to explain that.
And the Winlink development team understood this, because in the settings for the gateway, there is a checkbox, simulate internet outage. So they knew that we would be doing this as a drill, and put a checkbox that, rather than me having to unplug from the internet, I just check the box and it acts as though the internet is out. So they were smart enough to see this coming.
They're smart.
Yeah. Alan, I see you got your hand raised. I think this was your question.
Well, I was asking about the peer-to-peer example. Well, here in mid-Michigan, tomorrow night we're having a second exercise in peer-to-peer, and there's a bunch of us going to be on and testing it out. And I can't remember when you guys you talked about it. I can't remember what session about peer-to-peer. Did you go through the actual process? It was 4.
Yeah, episode 4. And what we did is we looked at using the name's gone right out of my head, where we were talking about creating custom paths, and we were talking about digipeating from one station to another. I don't think we actually did direct peer-to-peer communications for that, but that was the episode I think that you're thinking of.
Yeah, and I was when you go into a Winlink, okay, you got all loaded up and everything, you're ready to roll, you got your sound modem on and everything. You pick out, you create a new form. We were using the blank form, and we're just putting in the call signs for the people we're sending it to, and then a subject and a brief message or whatever. And then at that point, I think you save that message to the outbox, right? In peer-to-peer. And then when you go up there and you start the session, then the box opens up, and then there's a tab. There's a selection at the top of that box that says peer-to-peer. And you hit that, and then once that loads, I think you hit start session, right? I believe, or you hit transmit. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, both stations have to have a session open.
Right.
Only one station starts the session.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what we'll be doing. And we were sending messages to each other, but I was just a little confused there, because we were using forms all the time. And peer-to-peer is a little different than you're using a blank form, and there's an extra step in there, I believe, that you have to find that peer-to-peer.
Right. When you create a new message, whether it's peer-to-peer or through a gateway, you define what type of message that is. The default is a Winlink message, which is for a gateway.
Gotcha.
So you have to define that message as being either a Winlink message or a peer-to-peer message. And that's a gotcha. I think everybody has probably been stung by that one. But
Yeah, in the drop down box, I got P2P packet, and that's what we were using. So, but once you do that, and then you actually go in there and create you click on the new form, and then you hit the let's see if I
Hey, Dave, do you want to do a quick demo of this? You want to quickly go ahead and share your screen, and we can just do a quick walkthrough as to what that would look like. That might be helpful.
All right, give me a sec. Let me pull it up.
Yeah, as a troubleshooting tool, if you create a message, you can see it in your outbox, and you open your session and start it, and the message doesn't go, the first thing I would check is to make sure that the message type matches the session type.
You guys see my screen?
Yeah, we're seeing your screen. Go ahead.
So I'm just going to do a really simple message. You could do any of the forms, but if I wanted, Dan, can you set up and tell me which client you have up? I'll send you.
Yeah. Let me, I got to go in the other room. I believe I'm set up for Avara peer-to-peer on the gateway right now. But I'm sorry, on NR6V-4.
-4. Okay, great. So I would start my new message. And I'm going to send this to NR
V-4.
Well,
or do you need the -4 there?
Don't need the -4 there for the peer-to-peer. I'm sending it to Dan, and Dan's going to be open, and it's going to have his call sign.
Oh, okay.
Right? And when I send it, when I go to launch the VAR, we'll get there in a second. That's where you want to say I'm going to that particular machine. So I'm going to send it to Dan.
Request?
What's the what?
Is this going to be a pizza request?
I was thinking about it.
Okay.
I was actually going to ask for coffee because this is the coffee episode. But
we could do a coffee episode.
Coffee and pizza.
Coffee and pizza, that would work. That sounds like breakfast.
Zen latte.
The latte, but does latte go with pizza? I don't know.
It can.
Anyways,
pizza.
So simple message. Now this could be any of the forms. I could send a longer message, but again, demo purposes here, right? And here's where, if I'm going to do peer-to-peer, instead of sending it as that Winlink message, here's where I want to say, I want to send it this as a peer-to-peer message, right? Now, there's some other ways around this. If I forgot and I send it as a Winlink message, I can go into the outbox and switch it over. But for now, I'm going to say, hey, I want to send this as a peer-to-peer message.
So you can't send a Winlink message peer-to-peer, can you? Can't send a Winlink message peer-to-peer.
Right. You can convert it, but you can't send it that way. And you see when I send that, it actually grays out the CC box. Now, I could actually go in there and address it to multiple people. Each one's going to get a separate copy of it. But for today's purposes, I'm just going to send it to Dan. I'm going to post it to the outbox. Now, again, remember, Dan's machine needs to be on and in listening in peer-to-peer mode for this to work.
And it is.
And it is in Vara. Is that what you said?
Yes.
So I'm going to go and open up my Vara session. Now, I should go down here and open up a Vara peer-to-peer, but if I forget and I open up a Vara Winlink session, it'll open up. And then I can say, oh yeah, wait, I forgot, I'm doing this wrong. I want to switch to peer-to-peer. So I'll switch it to peer-to-peer. And now it says it's a Vara FM peer-to-peer session. And I want to go to NR6V- you said 4?
Yes.
NR6V-4. And I want to make sure my radio's on and I'm on the right side of my radio.
But wait, I just forgot. Did I make it a peer-to-peer message or is it a Winlink message?
Okay, well, you know what? I forgot. I'm not sure. I could go back here and go look in my outbox. And thanks for pointing this out, David. I can look in my outbox and I can see it's set up as a peer-to-peer message.
Yay.
So I'm going to go back here and this time I'll pick the right version, the Vara FM peer-to-peer. I will open my session. I'm going to bring up the Vara interface because I like to look at it just because. And I've got an NR6V-4. I spelled it right, which is important. And I'm going to say start. And if everything works well, Dan's machine's going to be waiting for mine, and the We're gonna
And then-
connect.
We're gonna get a failure.
now this may be propagation, and so I know what I can do instead of that. I could do NR6V-10. I can see if I can relay it through his gateway, because this is an emergency message here. So I'm going to do whatever I can to get it through, and I'm going to hope that
So you're trying to go to his gateway
to relay it through to his client.
to his.
And I've been out of town and haven't checked it. So let me go.
Oh.
Okay.
This is why we called this episode the virtual coffee bar, and not
then,
Ask the
and then if I'm
Expert.
really worried about that it's not going to work, then I'm going to go one more. And maybe it's my end, and maybe I'll go through my gateway.
Uh-oh.
And I'm sure none of this is going to work because, the demo gods are not in our favor.
We did not pray to the demo gods.
Yeah, we
We
did.
did not buy them a coffee.
When
Apparently.
when Chris, pinged me in the chat 2 minutes ago, I was like, what could go wrong?
You're like, I can totally set up and do this live. Sure.
Yeah,
Failure to connect. So it's probably something going on the NR6.
it's probably on Dan's side.
So Dan will come back here in just a second, and
But honestly,
it runs into the other room.
I guess potentially it could be my side. I've been out of town too, but I don't know for sure.
So that's
So-
peer-to-peer.
Now,
But
Alan, does
is
that
how
help?
And again, on your client side, on the other side, your client needs to be up and running, and you need to have VARA peer-to-peer working. You don't have to wait. Let me go back and share my screen because I turned it off too early. You don't actually have to. I don't have to actually be waiting here and sitting here and saying start. I just have to have this open and listening.
right.
And the awesome thing about the way it works is it will negotiate, it will hear the call, and it'll say, oh, wait, that's me. I want that message. I'll take it. And it will actually receive it. And this is, totally cool.
And then you get your
Now-
pizza.
Mike,
That's
what do you got
why I
to add
have
there?
to-
Oh, go ahead.
And now, what about VHF?
Packet
Henry.
works exactly the same. But Alan, what you'll want to make sure is that, again, this is an agreement between the hams on both ends. You
Right.
want to make sure that you're going to pick packet and they're
yeah,
going to pick
right.
packet. And if that was the case, I wouldn't have said I want to do VARA. I would have said I was going to do packet peer-to-peer. And again, same rules apply. Dan would have to be on his end, having his session up and running and open, and I'd have to be on my end, my session up and running and open for this to function.
Gotcha.
So, and
Good. Have fun with it.
Well,
Yeah,
that's pretty much
absolutely.
what I was doing last time. But I got a couple messages through to the couple guys, but other people are having problems. So now I got it written down as instructions here. I can help.
One
Right.
really cool thing is, as net control, you don't have to send a single message one at a time. Well, I shouldn't say it that way. You could have a single message addressed to 5 stations checking in with you.
Yeah.
Right.
And as they check in with you, their message is picked off. So you don't have to create 5 messages in your outbox. You can create one as net control, and they will connect peer-to-peer, and it will just go down the list and give them the message that's meant for them.
Or
That's
you could,
awesome.
or you
If-
could selectively push to them by going one at a time and saying, I'm going to send that traffic.
But yeah, that's an awesome feature if you, as say a net control, want to send instructions, but each a little separate instruction, or even if they're all the same.
Yeah.
You say, once you're at your assignment, check in for a peer-to-peer message with your instructions.
Right.
You should be okay, David.
NR6V-4 is still not responding. Oh, now it did. Okay, so here we go. Let me go
you want
back
to share your screen? I'll share your screen again.
Yeah, but I wanted to, again, this is the sausage getting made. You can see my screen. So what I should have done first, I should have gone in here and said, hey, can I even see it? Is it there?
So
Are we
you're
good?
in
Yeah.
Aura, you're doing the
Not
test connection. Look at that.
Not the best view on my side, but it's what it is. And again, I know I live in a hole and it's not the best. So I'm going to turn the
You have a
digipeater
nice
off.
house.
You're right, but I live in a canyon, and from an RF perspective, it's not. So, anyways, it's the best house I could live under my parents, in the garage. So, anyways, Direct RV64, I'm going to start it. Oh, and I'm sure Mike and Steve. No, I realize Mike and Steve are rolling over in their grave there because I don't need to do that. I should have taken the Dash 4 off.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
This is going to work.
Yay!
Yeah.
Thanks for jumping in and telling me I was doing it totally
And
wrong.
Look at that constellation. That's pretty good.
So, yeah. So, and again, sometimes I forget because we don't do this mode very often. It's not the client gateway. It's the call sign. Yeah. So, and then there you go. And I am sending a message, and I'm going to start my timer, Dan. I'm waiting for the pizza and the latte. Hopefully, Postmates will be here soon.
Let's go on to the next question. This one's coming in from Hawaii. Kilo Hotel 6 uniform says that when they use the display map with Winlink check-in form selected and no filtering, they can only see their own location. How do we set this so that they can see all of the other check-ins? So let's first start with, let me go over to my screen.
Hey, Dan, you've got the approval thing in on your side, and it's waiting for it to approve to download the message, which is why it's clicking over and over again.
All right. I'm going to unpin you guys so we can see.
Sorry, Chris.
Chris, that has to be a filter issue, doesn't it?
It can be a couple of different things. So the obvious first thing is make sure that you're the one that's receiving the messages. Oops, wrong button. I got to push that button. I got a lot of buttons here to constantly push. You have to make sure that you get the emails in. So for instance, I'm going to go ahead and hit start real quick, do a quick check to see if any other messages have come in. And if we go back to the session where we covered how to be able to bring up this mapping feature, first of all, everybody has to use the right form. So make sure that you're running on the latest version of Winlink. You can always check that by quitting Winlink, relaunching it, and it should do an automatic check and do your updates. The next would be you open up the person sending them. They're going to open up the message. They would select the template. You want to make sure that everybody's running the right version of the templates because some of the older versions didn't support all of these fancy features. Then you're going to come in here, and the best way to find the forms that support the mapping feature is they've added this category down here, mapping and GIS forms. You can click on that, and these are the ones that have all of that support in there. So let's say you're using the Winlink check-in text. So you would select that, fill out your form, send it. And this would be all of the other operators are sending these, and they have to send them to you. So that's why in the beginning of our setup, you always hear me saying, hey, make sure you're sending it to all four of us, KK60A, W0DHG, NR6V, and myself, W6AH, because when you do that and you send it to all four of us, then if you click on the little globe, if any of the four of us click on the globe icon, we can select the Winlink check-in form that we want to see the map for. And so this will bring up a list of all of those forms that we've received traffic in our Winlink account on. So I'll select the Winlink check-in form. You can see mine has received, that I haven't cleared out, 334 messages. You just hit the display map button. That brings up the map of the world. I'm going to go ahead and maximize this. Look at that. We've got our folks in New Zealand. We've got
Bravo.
Europe. We've got Hawaii. We've got Mexico, Canada, the United States. We've got folks all over the place. So I absolutely love this feature to see this. So if you're only seeing you, now, first of all, the question is, which one is you? Well, you are the green pin. So the green pin is at your location where you're at. All of these blue pins, or purple, I guess it's kind of a blue color, are going to show up there. So the first thing to check is come up here to the set filters. and you want to set this display records for no more than some amount of time. So the time for your exercise. So these are only looking at essentially today's pins that are in here. If I change this, if you want to see all of the pins that have come in, just change this over to, if you select the right keyboard, just change this over to 0 and then hit the save button, and you should see all of the Winlink check-ins that have come in.
Yeah, so but point of interest, Chris, when we did this the first time, we blew up the internet, remember? And so we stopped the first couple times that we did this as a test, we had everybody send to everybody, right? And there were hundreds of Winlink messages going back and forth. Now, what we realized was that was a lot of traffic. For those of you sending an RF, we're clogging up the airways. If you're sending a telnet, not such a big deal. So we slimmed it down so it only goes to us. So if you're only sending it to us, this isn't going to work for you because you're not getting all these check-ins in. Right. And we did this again because we were literally in a drill like this or an exercise like this. There's 50 people on here, and we did 2 or 3 check-ins. That's 150 emails times how many ever people were on the list. And we decided to kind of stand down from that.
Right.
Because there was a lot of traffic going on. And nobody yelled at us to do that, but we just thought maybe not so good.
Yeah, we did an exercise in Northeast that way, and there were maybe a dozen of us playing. And so everybody got everything, and it was not uncommon. One message sent, 72 received. Right. And it got to be a little bit complex.
So it is a super useful tool. And for your smaller local drills, and maybe as we go on in a couple weeks from now, maybe we might do one little quick and not send a big form. So we're not sending a lot of data, but I guess we'll pick the smallest form we could find and send it out just so people could see how it does work. But that's the technical part is you're only going to see what gets sent to you and all of the check-ins that go to you. You're not going to see all the checks. So what Chris is showing you or what I've got on my screen is because all you wonderful people out there are sending to us, but you're not sending it to all the other wonderful people, and they're not all sending them to you. So therefore, they're not going to show up on your list.
Now, David G, are you still? Do you still have a P2P session open?
No, I closed it. You want me to open it up? I can open it up.
Well, I did receive your message.
Yep, it did. I did see it finally go through.
I don't think that because I never approved it, so I don't think that applies to peer-to-peer.
Oh, okay. Maybe there was something tied up.
And Mike had his hand up. Mike, you wanted to comment a couple of times. CQ Mike.
We just killed Mike.
Hello.
There
he is.
There you go.
The guy from Hawaii says, I missed the check-ins were not sent to me. I don't think you explained it quite clear enough. If you don't get the message, you don't see the message.
Right. Yeah. That's what I was trying to say.
Okay. And there is a way that you can book all those and send them to a person as a second party if he wants to see them all. You can export them all to, you have to go into your Express, you have to go into and export all them. The form data can be exported, and then you can send that form data
You
file.
could show that, Chris.
What I'm working on.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to get back so I could show that. So what he's talking about, once you have the map open, you're gonna have to close the map to get this to work, and you're back into this maps and CSV files and forms. You select the right form that you want to. So like if you're net control, you get all of the check-ins coming into you, and you want to send them out to the rest of your team so everybody can share in all the love there. And matter of fact, what I'll do is I'm going to send these check-ins. I'm going to send them out to KH6UU. So you can come over here, and it's the export the form data. That's right, Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was in an earlier episode. You actually posted this on the WaveTalker site.
Yeah, I did. There's one of these is up there. So output file selection, I'm going to call this the coffee bar. Oops, I got to select the right keyboard. I'm going to call this the coffee bar. and it's a .txt file. So I'll just add .txt. I'm going to browse and I'll put that up on my desktop. There we go, and hit save. File name. There we go. Coffee bar. .txt. There we go. Hit save and save that. It's going to go out there. We'll say OK. And I'm going to close this. Now I'm going to open up a new message, and I'm going to send this message to KH6UU. And I'm going to say the coffee bar map. And I'm going to attach that file. I'll go over here, select add. Here's the coffee bar.txt file. Go ahead and hit open. That should be on there. So I'll say finished.
154 bytes.
Go.
Whoa.
Here.
That's
go. And
very nice.
Post that to the outbox. And I'm just going to send this out via Telnet. So there you go. So KH6UU, when you get that message, what you'll want to do is you'll want to just go in, receive the message, download the attachment, and then just hit the little map, and you should be able to import. You'll have to make sure you have the right form selected, import the data, go find that file, and you should be able to map those. So let us know how that goes.
Cool.
We will try. We'll be answering my question about custom forms. Oh, KG6CFC, James, you did have a question in the list, and let me see if I can find it so I can ask it.
While you look for that, Chris, here is an easy question to answer that's been asked a couple of times. Dave, N8SBE, and a couple of others have asked, how do you move the Winlink installation from one PC to another? Well, you download it on your new machine and you put in your credentials. That is your Winlink name, your call, and your password. And that's about all you need to do. And it
that'll get you signed up. If you have stored your mail, your messages, you can move the post office as well. And that, if you look in the, Chris, if you're in there, you show your folder, the default location, there's that C RMS Express folder.
What, I'm sorry, say that again.
Open your file explorer.
Oh, File Explorer, Roger.
Right. So all the messages are stored. If you look at the C drive where your RMS Express is, so go to C drive, and there's
RMS Express.
Yeah,
right?
in there's open that up. There's a folder with your call sign, and in that folder with your call sign has all of your data. And I know Mike said before, I think Mike, you open up your call sign folder.
There you go.
There's the data, I think the data or the messages. So what I've done when I move from a machine to machine, I just take that whole folder, your whole call
sign folder.
Yeah, and I move that from machine to machine. Actually, what I do here is I actually replicate that folder to my OneDrive. So if I'm on the machine that I use here for class, which is on my desk, when I want to Winlink from home, I do it here. But if I know I'm going to go out on an activity, we do a drill, I'm in the field, and it's going to be a while, and I want all the historical information because I got all these great addresses in here and all the other information. I take that folder and I replicate it back down to my Toughbook, my portable unit that I take out in the field, and I have all that information. And after I've synced it up, I can move that back up to the cloud, so I have all the historical stuff. It is a little bit of work, but then I'm never missing thinking, oh, is that message on my home PC, or is it on my portable PC, or is it on the other machine that I play around with and check in? Yes, Steve Waterman, the CISA PDF did work.
Excellent.
I got a message saying somebody said it didn't work. Who was that?
It's further back in the chat, so if I can post it on the WaveTalkers website after the.
I wouldn't. Call me first, please.
Roger that. Okay. Let's take the next question. Kilo Golf 6, Charlie Foxtrot Charlie asks, can a group create their own forms, like in the forms template as Winlink.org has done? And we do have Greg on the call here. We also have Mike on the call and others. So let me give you kind of a very, very high level of how the forms kind of work. And I also want to bring up, actually, let me do a quick search over here and go to the Ventura County website. So VC Communications, VC Comms, Ventura County ACS, Ventura Aries. There we go. So, for instance, here in Ventura County, we have our own custom Winlink form that we've set up. And so if you go up here to if vccom.org is the website. If you go up to operations, you can go down to digital operations and scroll down, and there's a section down here for Winlink. And there is an ACS Aries check-in template. You can go ahead and click on that. And it takes you to a page that's set up so that for our regular weekly nets, we have our own custom form. And we've done this because our county is divided into various different areas. And so we've added a couple of custom fields onto this. So what it allows all of the operators to do is just to go ahead and download the template from a link off of the website. And that just, works like any other file. It just downloads a zip file, and you download it, you unzip the file, and then you go into your RMS Express. You go into your C drive, go to the RMS Express folder. You go into the templates folder, and oops, did I go in the wrong one? I went in the wrong one. See, this is why we're called amateurs and not experts. RMS Express. No, you got to go into the global folders, right?
We just can't get paid, Chris.
Oh, that's true. Global folders, templates. There it is. Go into the global folders, templates, and then you would just put that the file that you download into there, and then inside of your RMS Express. Now, when you create a new message and you go to selected template, you have your global folders. And any of those custom templates that you've added go into this location. So that's how you get one in there and you're able to use it. But how do you create one of these? Well, the other place to look, as you can see, there is the standard templates folder right here. And so if you have a form that's pretty close, you need to make some adjustments. Now, I will say you need to have HTML skills, some JavaScript skills. You need some other technical skills to be able to do this. It's not as simple as just point and click and just create these. But if we go into the RMS Express folder, there is a standard templates folder. You can go in there, and so you can see all of the actual templates that are in there. So let's say we were going to look at the general forms, and we were going to look at just the Winlink check-in. So there's two files that are created here. There's an initial folder file and a viewer file, and all of the actual code that's used to create these are inside of there. So you can have a look at what's there and kind of poke at it. Now, this is where I'm going to get yelled at by the Winlink team for not.
Yeah, Mike is ready to comment.
So I see Mike is ready with his hand raised. So
Chris,
this is the kind of the basics of what's there.
Yeah, before you step in it, Chris, let Mike chime in.
Yeah, Mike. we yield to you. Oh, great one.
I have no problem with that. I think that's wonderful. You can copy and paste and mutilate all you want. A few key things to watch out for. Do not change anything in the standard template folder or you will screw your system up.
Yes.
Do not place your custom form in the standard templates folder, because every time we push out a new one, it will erase everything and start fresh. And finally, if you want to know how to do this, if you go to the Book of Knowledge on the Winlink website, if you can bring it up.
I'm working on it. Trying to follow you.
Okay, and then go to how-to recipes.
Winlink.org.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and maximize that so it's a little bit easier to see. Here is the Book of Knowledge link. It's right here, the BOK for those of the in crowd. All right. So,
Oh my God, the first thing
Oh,
you see
no.
is WaveTalkers. Whoa.
what? Look at that.
Okay, anyhow,
Winlink Express training by WaveTalkers. That's amazing.
go down, scroll down till you find how-to recipes.
How-to recipes right here.
Yes.
We're going to go into there.
And you'll find
Create your own templates, HTML, right there.
right there.
Create your own templates right there. HTML, and there you are.
Download the PDF and it'll give you all the commands. You need to understand, in addition to HTML, JavaScript, and all this, as Greg has found out, you have to understand radio. You have to understand Express, because Express has certain input fields that are required you must follow. They have command structure that you have to follow. So I know Greg's turning in his grave right now because he doesn't like people dinking in here real heavily. But if you want to do it. But don't bother to ask me to help you out. I won't.
Yeah. It's probably the number 3 or number 4 question. Once your organization gets really skilled in using Winlink, well, how come that form isn't there? Well, think about it, folks. This is a worldwide program. There are a series of standard templates, and they're going to keep that series of standard templates. But if you want to mess around with it and put it in your own global folder, then you can. But as Mike said, don't knock on their door because they're very busy people.
And a logical extension of the question that David just proposed is, if your organization really feels like they need to take one of the standard forms and modify it, think about that. There's a reason that there's a standard. A lot of look at the ICS forms, there's a reason they're standardized. It's because everybody uses them, everybody trains on them. So making major modifications really needs to be important, mission critical. Otherwise, go back to your organization and ask them, do we really need to go down this path?
Right.
Is it really, really necessary? Otherwise, we should work with the framework that they're given to us unless we really can't figure out a way for it to meet the mission.
One final comment.
Yeah.
Be wary. If you create your own custom form, everyone has to have that custom form to be able to get it rendered as an HTML. There is a fallback. Everything is sent as plain text in a formatted method, so you can read the text file. But do not expect your form, if you're in Washoe County and you have a special form, you send it to Bowdoin County and they open it up, they're going to see anything. No, they're not going to see the rendered HTML. All they will see is the plain text. That's the purpose of standard forms. Everyone is on the same page. It follows the standard format. It's logical. And in the ICS and FEMA world, they have to do that. I'm out of here.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mike, thank you so much. That's
one
well
of the
said.
things in ACS, we haven't done it for Winlink yet, but we did it for FL Digi and N-beams. The problem we ran into is that we updated the form along the way, and not everybody had the latest version. And as Mike said, they still got the text, so the data still was available to them, but it was not in the real pretty HTML picture. That's something you got to be very aware of.
We have gotten that question so many times, and we just haven't pulled ourselves together enough to be able to do an entire episode or probably an entire series just on how to create forms, because it does get into a lot of technical stuff. I've been doing some work trying to learn how to do this so we can walk through that, but it's a lot to learn.
And Chris, we should send out a big thank you to Greg for all of his very, very hard work in creating all of these forms and then tweaking them and making them better and better and better. This is a full-time job.
I want to jump on the question KC6 or KC7 LOX saying several of the clients want to put emblems and pictures on the standard forms. Here's the thing. Pictures or images make the forms bigger. You got to remember when we're sending these forms out, RF, especially HF, size growth slows it down, and pictures or images are going to grow it in an unimportant way.
Yeah.
Right.
But if the images are in the form that doesn't get sent.
If it's a standard form that's on everybody's computer, and then that means you got to sell it to Mike for him to put it in the general payload, or you need to distribute it on your own. But otherwise, it's not an ideal thing to do. Again, these are intentionally small packages because they may go long distances. So we do want to, size does matter, and in this particular case, less is more.
Ain't gonna happen.
Yeah. Greg, I see you got your hand raised. You want to chime in here?
Yes. Can you hear okay?
We
Yes.
can.
Okay. Yes, it is possible to put an HTML, a graphic in the HTML, and it's not as simple as it would be in HTML where you just link to it. What needs to be done, and what I do is convert it, and I think it's bin hex. There's a thing, you create the hex version of it, and that gets embedded. There may be still, on the Red Cross forms, I think I've done that. You put it in the form and it looks pretty there, but it doesn't get sent at all, because that would just be
Too much.
ugly.
Yeah. Too much.
And Mike would hit me.
You're right.
That's right. There you go. People, there are some standards here.
Steer it away.
To get
Steer
the
it
idea.
away. Steer it away.
And we should say, if people don't know this, you can customize the title on many of these forms.
Yeah.
So, what we do is put on the top of it Aries LAX hospital status report or something like that.
Kilo India 7, Tango November Radio. I see you got your hand raised. You want to unmute and either ask a question or have something to add?
I didn't intend to have my hand raised. I did email a question, but it was technical, and I don't know if it can really be answered on this call. I just can't use Signal Link. I was sending a message. I just got my Signal Link in the mail the other day, and I keep getting a serial port TCP error, and it won't send. I don't know what's going on there.
Oh yeah.
I Googled a million different searches and have found nothing.
You came to the right place.
That is, you are in the right place. So DHG, if you scroll down to the bottom of our Google Doc, his question is the bottom question that's on there, I included the Word doc with all of the error messages and so forth in there. If I see what it says here, it says, I need help on an error I'm sending WinLink messages via Signal Link. Sending WinLink message, where is it? So here's the error that he's got. Failed to open serial port on TCP. DHG, as our resident expert of Windows, can you walk us through a couple of the how you would go through checking, making sure you've got the right COM port, all those kinds of things, for setting up a Signal Link real quick? You're on mute and we can't hear you now.
All right.
There you go.
Now can you see my screen?
We can see your screen and we can hear you.
All right, awesome, even better. Okay, so troubleshooting, and this is probably an entire episode, and I will realize and point out we're already 20 after the top of the second hour, which is okay. I'm good with this. I'll give you a couple hints, a couple ideas, right? We're looking at my WinLink Express setup, right? And there are two primary modes that we've focused on in this course: the packet WinLink and the VAR FM. Both of those items have some great troubleshooting tools in them. Often I will start with the packet WinLink because for me, I like the troubleshooting capabilities, what sound modem provides you. I would rather use VARA if I'm actually sending messages, but there's some really cool stuff in here. So let's walk down this path. If there was an issue, if there was a problem, if I couldn't see something working, I might go to your computer and we'll launch your packet Winlink. And then you'll wait a little bit. Oh, you got to say open session. And your sound modem's going to open up. And your session's going to open up. And we're going to look at all of our settings. So one of the things that we need to be concerned are what the ports are. And the ports all need to line up. Okay.
So, David, if one of them says 8,000 and the other one says 8,100, they're not going to talk to each other.
That's right. So if you look here in the packet setup, it says 8,100. And then you go look here in the VARA setup. Oh, I picked the wrong one. You go to the VARA setup. And in here, you have 8,000 enabled and not 8,100. It's not going to be able to talk. Now, we did provide a document. It's up on the WaveTalker site. It's a two-sided PDF that kind of walks through the configuration that we like here in Los Angeles. Your mileage may vary, but I know it works, okay? So this is a place I would start. Based on the error that you're talking about, that you're showing me, this is a place where I would want to open both the Winlink setup and see what's here as far as your TCP/IP host based on your specific error, right? And I'd want to go into the sound modem and look to see what's set up here. And we're using the KISS server port again, signal link, USB, the radio that I have, that's what I'm going to use. And I want to make sure that that TCP/IP port and the port that's there match, right? That allows it to talk through. There are other considerations as well. And we could spend, as I said, we could spend a whole session or more troubleshooting these kinds of things. One of the things you're going to want to look at, and I'm just going to point this out, is we're going to want to see with our sound modem, if we have everything configured the way that we think we do, we want to see waterfall here. Well, my waterfall just went away. Well, I tricked it because I turned my radio off because I wanted to show you what it might look like if your radio and your signal link aren't configured to talk to through the right parts, right? And the best way for me to show you that is turning the radio off. Your system may not work because you have the wrong port or the signal link on the wrong item or any number of other things. But these are some of the troubleshooting things you're going to want to look at. I turn my radio back on. I have waterfall. That means the PC hears what the radio thinks it hears, right? And that's a good sign that things are happening, right? The next troubleshooting thing I might do is I'm going to go up to the calibration here because we have the ability to send a tone. Now, is it important you hear the tone? Maybe. The important part for me is to look at my radio. When I click high tone, is the radio keying? Because that means I have control, right? Audio in, audio out. I also have to control the push to talk. So I'm going to look at these items and say, and I don't care if it's a high tone or low tone or both tones until I get into more of the advanced troubleshooting. A lot of the times for the folks that I've worked with is if I key one of these, is the radio transmitting, right? And I'll stop it. I don't want it to just go on forever, but can it control the radio? These are the steps that we go through, right? Now, yes, I can go a little further and send my tone. You can't hear it because I don't have another radio on this frequency, but now it's sending. And when I stop it, I hear static because I have my squelch off, and usually I turn the radio down. And, we could go 16 other items here. There are other problems that you could run into beyond the TCP ports. It could be set for the wrong sound card. It could be some of these other, and remember, not only do you have to get all the settings on this screen right for packet, you got to get all the settings on this screen right as well. And these are not the out-of-the-box settings. And so far, I haven't completely figured out a way to save an INI file that I can email you and say, change these 3 lines and go from there. We could also look at our VARA. VAR is another good troubleshooting tool. We can open up our VAR FM and open up our session. And when I do that, I want to see that it connects. And you probably don't even get this far. You might. We'll look at the settings here and the VARA TNC setup, and I'll see here, oh, for VARA, it's 8300. Okay.
Oh.
It's different. It's
Why is it not 8100?
You could do 8100, but if you're going to do that, you can't have both of them on at the same time. Because there's going to be a conflict. And I have them separately set up because I might want to have sound modem running in the background when I'm sending VAR as a troubleshooting and diagnostic tool, or I might want to have the ability where VAR is up and running, waiting for stuff, and there's no traffic going on to open up my pinpoint APRS, which uses a sound modem, and I may want to be able to send an APRS ping so somebody knows where I am, right? There's this. I want to make sure that this port matches the port here in my TCP/IP, right? It's as important. This stuff has to match, right? The other items don't have to perfectly match because I may be set up differently than you, but this part is critical. If it doesn't know which port to send the data through, it isn't going to work, right? And then if the ports are right and you see data here, there's a bunch of things you can do. Again, diagnostically, I can turn my RX up and down on my signal link, and you can see the VU meter. I'm overdriving, I'm underdriving, I'm overdriving, right? So again, diagnostic, it's talking, the equipment works. I could turn my signal link off and, oh, wait, went away. Well, now it's back on, right?
Where, David, do we about want to set that one?
Where you see it right now in the minus...
About 2 o'clock?
Yeah, about 2 o'clock, minus 12, 13, 14, in this area. Excuse me, cat. Cat, go away.
He's in cat control now.
Yeah, I've got cat control here. In that general vicinity is where you want it. And again, I would tell you that my signal link is set up at 9 o'clock. Your mileage may vary. You might have a different radio. It might be a different configuration. For whatever reason, your Windows setup may be different than mine. Yeah. And also, again,
if you're going in through the microphone jack, your squelch setting and your volume setting on your radio will affect that as well.
Yeah, that's right. It totally matters. And then again, there are a bunch of different tools in here to diagnose what's going on. You'll want to go into the sound card here and you can tune it. And again, this tune is very much like what we saw on the sound modem side. I tune it. And when you start tuning, your radio should be transmitting. When you stop, it should stop transmitting. Even better, I can say, hey, I think I got it all right. It looks like it's transmitting or not or whatever. Now I want to find a local gateway and ping it and see, well, is it hearing me? Well, right now, Dan seems to be hearing me pretty well. Well, I was trying to get this other gateway and I'm not sure, is that one going to be better or worse? So I can ping that gateway. And maybe I get a response back. Well, maybe that right now, that one's not so good. Some of the time that one's better. It all, here goes the cat control again. It all varies. These are some of the steps. And I think that might be another episode that we'll do is some more deep hardware troubleshooting. This was really good. This has been a really good kind of high level software hardware. We'll continue on with this. So I think, have I killed this one, Chris?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you did. I think our best guess is that it's going to be a port problem.
Yeah.
Check that first. And I think that's the issue.
I think my best suggestion would be is Chris has that document, that two-sided PDF that we created for our local use here, posted on the WaveTalker site. Maybe Chris, you can paste that in the chat, a link to that. If you pull that 2-page document down, one side is the sound modem setup that we like, and the other side is the VARA setup that we like. We know that configuration in our area works. It should work for you. And it wasn't created by us. I just copied it from somebody else. But that's what we use in the LA area. It seems to work. Every radio that I've gone in to help troubleshoot over Zoom or otherwise, I usually find if they're not communicating properly, there's 1 or 2 or 3 or 10 bits in those pages somewhere that are just not set right. And once we get them lined up, almost all the time it works.
If you like, we like.
Amen, brother.
Yeah.
So that actually leads us to another question that came in. This one came in through the Winlink feedback, or the WaveTalkers feedback form. And it was November 8th, Sierra Bravo Echo asked, what happened to those various PDF files that accompany all of these Winlink videos? And I'm just going to open up the WaveTalkers website right now. And I have actually stopped the live stream on, just paused it on my playback here, because I want to do a quick walkthrough as to where to find a couple of these resources, because WaveTalkers, the website started out, if we scroll down, oops, which screen am I using? I'm using this one here. If I scroll down just a little bit on the page, you can see I started this was a project that I started about 3 years ago to create this website. And I put in all of the questions for the technician general and extra exams. And so you can click through all of those. There's practice tests. Every time you take a practice test, it's entirely unique. And so you can take as many as you want. All the questions are free and online because they're all available anyway. So all of that's all up here. There's quick reviews, all those kinds of things. So that's where WaveTalkers got its start originally, was in creating instructional material. But if I come back up here up to the top, some of the things that we've added recently, and we're still building this out quite a bit. Many of you have noticed that we're doing these live episodes. And so we've got a bunch of those. So if you click on the live link up in the menu bar, all of the previous live episodes are all listed here. So you can go in and you can watch them all in order sequentially, because a lot of people have asked for that information. So we just created that here, and each of these are on their own dedicated page. But it's just the recent live episodes. If you come back all the way to the top, there's also a resources link up here. And if you go into resources, we're still building this out, and there's lots more coming here. There's some general reference material that's in here, like we built a dynamic band plan you can click around in, and some Morse code. You can listen to the sound, starting to learn that, phonetics, Q code, that kind of stuff. Over here on the left, we've got our start of the digital resources. And this is what most people have been looking for. They're looking for, under resources, the Winlink page. And if you come into Winlink, this is what's really kind of developed as its own full course, and it's available for free up here. So all these materials are there for you now. And if you scroll down, here's the original core first four classes that we did. And then we continue to add more classes. So if you wanted to go back and watch what we did in, say, class 3, you can click on that. It'll open it up. And this is where we covered an entire episode about sending Winlink email via RF. And so you can get to that whole episode in here. I'll go ahead and close that. But below this top bar, all of the rest of these are short little videos that have been made by pretty much all of us at this point. We've all created some. So let's say you're interested in how to configure your signal link, or how to configure sound modem. You can come in and just click on the signal link one, and there's a short like 2-minute video that KK60A did. You can come down a little bit below that. DHG did a signaling guide, and then there's links to all of those PDFs that we've been posting. So this allows you to go in and find the kinds of questions or things that you're trying to answer. We did an episode where we talked about mesh, and we had Orv W6BI came in, and so we've clipped out that short little section that Orv did, and then we've got links to the specific PDFs that are all in there. So the sections of the website, they're kind of overlapping at this point. The live link gives you a chronological view of all of the episodes that we've been doing. The resources section is breaking it down by topic, and we're adding lots more of these. We've got tons more content that we're building out. Ultimately, one of the things that we're going to be working on is all of those the radio exam prep questions. So if you go into the let's see, let's do one of these down here into one of the sections of questions. Takes a little drill down into all of these. You can get into individual practice questions that are here, and ultimately there'll be a little button down here at the bottom for resources, and you'll be able to click on that, and you'll be able to find the relevant short resources that are tied to every single one of these questions. It's a lot of work to map all of this out, and right now I'm in the process of converting the new tech question pool over into the site. That takes me a little while to get all of that coded up. And then we're going to just continue to add these. I've got a few of them added throughout. So that's another question that had come in about how do you find some of these troubleshooting resources. A lot of them are up here in the resources section, right on the top page of the site. Let's see, where are we at? We're at 2:30. So we've been at this for an hour and a half. Do we want to try to dive into any more questions, or do we want to go ahead and cut off the live stream at this point?
I think probably what we should do, Chris, is consolidate, maybe call it a day unless there's any like super important question, and then consolidate both what came through the chat and then came through in the emails. And maybe we can work on a FAQ page, and we'll do our best to answer in text and post it up there. And we'll send a link out when we think we've got it mostly covered. And then we'll see you next week.
Yeah, right on. So with that, if you find the stuff that we're doing helpful, sorry if we didn't get to your question today. We've gotten a ton of questions in. If we didn't get to your question, we'll try and work on trying to get this. If this format worked pretty well, we can plan on doing some more episodes like this, where we just do a full Q&A time the entire time. Next week, I think we're going to be talking about event support a little bit. I'm going to be operating next week for the Ventura Marathon at one of the aid stations. And all of us have operated at places like the Baker to Vegas race, the AC 100, the LA Marathon, a variety of others. So we're going to talk about supporting some of those types of events. And I'm going to try and do some live or some recorded video from the event next week for our show with that. So if you find the stuff that we're doing helpful, please consider supporting us on all of the WaveTalkers pages. You'll find a little coffee cup. We did get a question in, do we have to buy you a coffee? No, you can say it's a bourbon or a rum or a hot chocolate or kind of whatever, a pizza. That just happens to be the buy us a coffee was the service that we found that we could to get this working, to help support all of this infrastructure, because as you can tell, it takes a lot of this infrastructure to build all this stuff out. So we very much appreciate all of you who have been supporting us with that. It really does make I might just put in tequila. Yes.
Yeah. And the other thing too is you can just watch.
Or you can just watch, right? All of this material, we're all just going up there for free. Yep. So for everybody to watch. So don't feel obligated to be able to do that. So with that, any closing thoughts? We can go around the horn. DA, any thoughts from you?
Thank you, Chris, for everything you're doing. This is a lot of work at WaveTalkers, and it's joyful work for the four of us, the three of us that help you do this, but it's a lot of stuff on your side. So thanks so much.
Thank you. Dan, any closing thoughts from you?
No, just glad we got to as many questions as we did, and I think we probably helped a few folks. And the biggest thing I found over the years is that helping one person helps a bunch of people, because for every person that speaks up and says, I've got this issue, there's several others that have something similar, and maybe that information. And you just troubleshooting is the best way to learn, I think.
That's why we send people to the Winlink programs group reflector, because the response goes out to everybody, not just to the person who says they need the attention. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people get a lot out of that, whether they are asking for it or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
All of this is, as everyone can tell, this is all super complicated stuff. But it's super valuable. So we do our best to try and take those and share the knowledge out. Dave, W0DHG, any closing thoughts before we end?
Yeah, I have a couple. Again, I thank the Winlink development team, and the fact that you guys are here, watching over and helping us is just a great honor. And to the three of my partners in crime here, I'm glad we're able to take this journey together. I will say that we're becoming infamous. I attended yesterday and the day before the Yuma Ham Fest, and I had a number of people walk up to me and say, "Aren't you a wave talker?" and thanked me. You literally thanked me there. Nobody offered to buy me a coffee or anything else, but they all thanked me there. Random people walked up to me and said, "Hey, you're a wave talker, and we love what you guys are doing." And so I think it's amazing. We'll keep spreading the word.
Jackets.
What's that?
Hats, gloves.
Yeah.
Look into some swag at some point.
We might get there.
Wave talker beer.
Yeah.
Beer.
Beer.
No.
Pizza. It all comes back to
vodka.
So yeah, I would also like to express my thanks and gratitude to the Winlink team, especially you guys who keep showing up and adding such valuable insight. We are clearly all amateurs here, trying to share the knowledge, and you guys are the ones who are building these tools that we're using all the time, and supporting people through emergency communications at all levels, from the local, national, global levels. We really appreciate that, and appreciate all of you who are showing up to these and watching us all online. So we really appreciate that. With that, what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and end the live streams that we have. We can still hang around for a little bit of an after party if folks want to hang for a little while. But let me go ahead and wrap up the online ones. So we're going to close off the YouTube. So thank you for joining. I did see a couple of questions come in on YouTube. Sorry we didn't get to those. We'll do our best to get some of those entered in there. Go ahead and add them into there. If you're on YouTube, give us a like and follow there, all the fun social things. So thanks a lot on YouTube.